our podcast. And in case you're listening to this and you're not actually watching this, we are live streaming, and this is something that we may potentially do moving forward. Depending on how certain things go, because this is also our first time using a different software to live stream, and it kind of makes it easier for us to talk about the current things that are happening without it being old, because we take a few days to obviously edit and get everything out there. Then by that time, you've already had SmackDown and Raw, so potentially we may start to kind of go live for the video version, at least moving forward, especially with predictions, which because we have main event is coming up next week actually,
Big
which
time, yeah.
I can't believe that we already have another kind of PLE, but we will be getting into that as well as the war games, our war games reactions, and then we're going to obviously talk about what happened on a brutal episode of Monday Night Raw, and then we'll close out with talking about Saturday night's main event. So let's get into war games, Dylan. Why don't you give us your initial thoughts and reactions to the PLE as a whole, and then we'll dive into specific matches.
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, I thought it was a pretty strong premium live event. I thought the main event was great. I thought overall, I think each match delivered in its own way. I think that the triple threat match was really good. But we'll get into all the different specifics. But overall, if I don't know if I had to give it a grade, maybe I give it a B plus.
Okay.
And not quite an A, but there isn't nothing there's nothing too bad that I can say about it. The biggest thing for me was that I just felt like they um so this was the biggest hit for me was that with the women's war games match kicking it off, um
Mm.
it had like I was excited and I thought it had like such an incredibly slow start, um that it was just like I don't know. It started that women's war games match started really slow to me, and it was
Yeah.
like so it was like the night wasn't starting uh awesome, but once we had all five women from both teams in the cage, that's when the match really took off. And that will say I will say that is like my one um kind of beef with a war games match is it does just feel like 15 minutes of just waiting until all five members of the team are in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they have the opportunity to do more exciting things to fill that time. Um, on both sides, it wasn't just the women's match. Like just the women's match, it was a little bit more um, apparent in there. And I think also because it kicked off the night, so that it was like um, one with that slow start, it was a little bit like, all right, like when are we gonna get into it? But then, I mean, really, it was, I mean, EO climbing the cage with the trash can got everybody real excited.
Of course.
Um, so then we had the what was it the double spot with EO doing the moonsault in the trash can. Um, I would believe last year didn't she put it on and just jump off?
Yes.
She
Splash
didn't do the
style.
moon. Yeah, like she didn't do the moonsault last year. Um,
Or she I feel like I think she did just jump off it. There is a chance she did a moonsault, but not with it like on her
no,
head.
not yeah. I like she's done
I
it
can't remember off
separately.
the top of my head.
Like I know for sure she's done a moonsault off the top of the cage. I know for sure she's jumped off with the trash can, but I think that was the first time we saw her do the moonsault with it. Regardless, if it was the
Awesome.
first time or not, it was insane. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
So
the
good.
amount of like confidence you need to have in yourself to do that move, like
Yeah.
you can't see anything,
Yeah.
and it's
It's
just like, dude,
wild.
it's probably so scary. Um, but yeah, I mean and then that happened, of course, simultaneously with Tiff hitting the swanton, um, and then that was really cool. So I mean, there really was some great spots in this match. Rhea's mask was super sick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do the one thing I wish they would have sold the bat shots a little better.
Mm.
When Liv broke out the baseball bat, she was giving her some real whacks to the stomach there with a baseball bat.
Sure was.
So it looked pretty brutal. And then I felt like they didn't, like, I don't know. I haven't like they haven't really used a bat like that a lot.
No, I couldn't tell you like the last
Like
time
it
that they like used a bat like just
like
like
they
as a
usually
weapon.
anytime they've brought out anytime a bat's been involved, I feel like it's always like the sledgehammer type move, like classic over the head of the
Yeah.
bat, and like that was the first time uh they were really whacking it. But yeah, I mean, sorry that I kind of just rambled on without letting you get your take in there, but um yeah, I mean, what did you think of War Games overall? And then, I mean, it's a good transition because that was the first match, kind of diving into that first one.
Yeah, so I think overall I'm kind of with you. I would give it, if I'm going to give it a grade, I would probably give it around like a B. Again, it definitely was not bad, right? I
No,
saw
yeah.
um some people hating on it, but I think those are just people who are choosing to be annoying. Um and they don't actually enjoy wrestling at all. But I think it felt like it was missing that one big moment, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, because like you obviously you have a lot of times where friends turn on each other in war games matches. That's kind of been a common theme throughout the years, especially when it was in NXT. And so like the fact that we didn't get a Tiff cash in, we didn't get the Bailey heel turn,
Mm.
Rock didn't come back, nothing like super crazy happened. Those are kind of the things that puts it over the edge into like A territory to make it like, oh, this was awesome. But I think this was a solid, really good PLE as well. Um, and so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good spots, but you are right to where it one of the like biggest critiques, especially after watching that, and like I've had my other friends who are watching it as well, and it was my one friend, shout out Aaron, my cousin. He was watching it. It was first ever War Games match that he was watching, and he kind of said the same thing. Was like, is this gonna pick up like once all members enter the match? And I was like, yeah, that's like usually how it ends up going because the
But
match
it
doesn't
just,
even start until everyone's involved. But that
yeah,
doesn't
and
mean you don't have to do anything before
yeah,
that.
it feels like they just don't, it feels like they don't have any plan
Shout
at
out Billy
all.
and Purple in our comments.
Hey, how's it going, man? Uh, I was gonna say, like, it doesn't feel like, um, sorry, where was I at? Got me all flustered, Billy.
You said it felt like it did. You didn't have a plan.
No, okay, yeah. It felt like they didn't really have like much of a plan until all five members of both teams were in there. Like
Yeah,
it felt like,
they're kind of like,
and
all right, you guys just fuck around, and then once we
yeah, and
get
it's like
everyone involved, we'll pick it up.
and I guess they had like, there was kind of some planned, like maybe little spots that we saw, but yeah, it was just a lot of time filler until all five women. I mean, it wasn't even that, like, it was, I mean, it was kind of similar for the men's match. I think the big difference was that we had like the Punk and Roman kind of thing going on in the cage that kind of kept us
Which was awesome.
intrigued. But yeah, regardless, once we did have all five women in the match, I mean, a banger, spot after spot. I mean,
Yeah,
that EO
and
moonsault was crazy. The Tiff, I'm kind of with you. I almost feel like the Tiff cash in would have been so awesome and make perfect. And oh my god, it would have made perfect sense. Like,
especially
especially
with
if they were gonna lose anyway.
and like what I think it was Graves who said it was like, especially because A, she didn't come down with her briefcase, so then you're like,
Yeah,
uh oh, And then she had it, and then Graves was like, "What's gonna like? How is this gonna work if she cashes in right now? Like, what's gonna happen with the match?" And I was like, "That's a great point. Like, who knows what would happen then if Tiff cashed in?"
Yeah, that's what I
But
mean. Is there then just two matches going on at the same time? Like,
yeah,
I
who
guess,
knows?
yeah.
I don't know. But I will say, to be on the side of like the pre-match stuff won't be isn't boring was like at least with like the women's match, they brought out a lot of weapons and stuff too,
Yeah, I will say that. Yeah.
which
They
also
were they
added
were
like a
good with
lot
that.
to it. But yeah, overall the women's match was a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of people kind of talk about this, and I also agree to an extent with like Liv is just kind of getting buried with just like
Uh
how she kind of
I mean, that was rough. That was a rough night for Liv for
yeah
sure. I mean, I don't especially with Io being the number 1 contender
yeah.
and Rhea eating like Rhea it's just like where do they go now?
They're going to Liv and Rhea.
But Io's the number 1 contender.
Yeah, but like after main event, Rhea's gonna be like, I pinned you at War Games. Like I think she's going to be the next
Oh,
challenger
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
Liv.
probably. I'm more just like do you think they're done with Liv and Io after this one?
Oh yeah.
What about this? What about Liv and Io at main event and then whatever, Io doesn't get it done. Same thing kind of similar. I think it could lead to Damage Control versus Judgment Day women's tag action sort of
Mm,
vibe. Um,
interesting.
but Io, in my opinion, is very much needed in that singles division. So hopefully
Especially
not.
right now.
Yeah.
And still as over as ever. Like she's obviously like
Dude,
she's
she's the
huge.
best.
She's a big
Oh my
star.
god, that
She's
Io,
awesome.
that Io in the press conference afterwards, where they were like, first of all, it pisses me off that like we can't get answers from WWE about potential media credentials. And then
Yeah,
we
what
got
the
and
fuck?
then we got motherfuckers in press conferences saying, "Io, have you thought about who's going to be at your side when you challenge for the women's championship?" And Io is just like, so I'm a member of Damage Control." Like, yeah, maybe the entire team that she's been on for the past 2 years.
Yeah,
What are
maybe
you
her
talking about?
faction.
Her faction that she's been a bit more. She's been literally since the moment she stepped back into WWE.
Yeah,
She has,
dude. It's
um,
crazy.
but so I mean, not too. And I will say, could it could have been a maybe they worded the question weird and maybe you know what I mean. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm saying when you got people that are willing to ask the hard hitting right questions,
Mm.
maybe that's why they don't want us there, Mark. Because they
Maybe they
know
don't want the
we're
right
gonna
questions
ask
asked.
we're gonna ask the right questions. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. But I'm totally with you on the. I think they've, and I love Rhea, so I'm never gonna like hate on Rhea, but I do think they've kind of over pushed her to this point. Um, and I don't think that's like necessary. I think they just like put too much stock into her without putting stock into anybody else. And it kind of is starting to come back to bite them because now it's just like it feels like no one can beat Rhea.
Yeah.
And it's not even a dig on her. Like she's been awesome and she's done very well at um maintaining that kind of baby face persona in the fans' eyes with still kind of getting that super push that the fans tend to end up turning on people. So, but it's starting to stir that people aren't as happy with Rhea being as pushed as heavily as she is right now. And like I said, I do think Rhea Ripley is, you know, if if not the, she's obviously one of the best women's wrestlers in the entire world. Um,
I
and
would put
I
her at
think,
number one.
yeah, I mean,
I think
there's,
she's number one right now. I don't think there's anyone better than Rhea currently.
yeah, I mean, I can't argue with you. I'm not gonna argue, but I'm saying we're now in a point where WWE is kind of at a turning point for their women's division, and it seems like, and I honestly have all the faith that this is going to work out because um, of the amount of stock they've put into the NXT women's division. Like that is the
That's a
better
good
division.
division. That's a
It's
good
the dude. It's
division.
like it's like a better, like that division should be the main event division of NXT right
Oh
now.
yeah, 100% agree.
Like it's, I mean, as far as like as long as those women are there cooking, like they should be main event in the PLEs for the next 6 months. Like
Yeah,
if we're being honest, like the Rocks and Julia, Rocks and Stephanie Vecker, Julia and Stephanie, like all these feuds are bigger than
anything
Trick and
else?
Ethan and some of these other feuds. So
Yeah.
I think it's time, and it's maybe it gives you kind of a look into the NXT men's division, and makes you think where they're going with what's the direction they're going in here now, right? Because we got to start building up some new guys to this main event level.
Yeah, we sure do.
Um, and it'll be interesting to see what
Es-
happens moving forward.
Especially with the Rumble in a month
Yeah,
and
big
a
time.
month and a half after main event, about 2 months out from now.
So I mean, we can move into the second match of
Yeah,
War Games real quick,
let's
and
do it.
that was the United States title match, Mark.
Mm, sure
We have a
was.
new United States champion, Shinsuke Nakamura, coming out with
Nice.
another. He came out to a remix song on Friday, and then came out to
So good.
another. Then he came
So
out
good.
to, dude. The one on Saturday it was different than the one
I
on
know.
Friday.
I
Came
think
out
that
to
may be
another
like his
remix.
PLE. That might be his PLE theme.
Yeah,
Which
it was
first of
sick.
all, let's pause there. It's so awesome when wrestlers come out to like a different thing for PLEs than they do for like the weekly shows. Like no
Yeah.
one really like kind of does that. The fact that he's got another like theme song that's a remix of the remix for his current theme song, God, so good. Such a good
Yeah, with
entrance.
like the blood moon in the
Oh, and all the
background, like him
fog.
come. Yeah, it
Holy
was
shit.
sick,
Did
dude.
that work?
Um, and yeah, I mean Nakamura obviously is being pushed right now because we have a new United States champion. He took out our boy L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mark, I know you weren't necessarily head over heels about the decision. I know it has nothing to do with Shinsuke, just kind of the booking of LA Knight's United States Championship feud. So before we kind of hear your thoughts on that, let me start by saying I am so happy that Shinsuke Nakamura is your new United States champion, baby. I do think I am a little biased because I'm such a big Shinsuke fan, and I've been like, in my eyes. So this is I'll let Mark kind of share his thoughts on what this means for LA Knight moving forward. But in my eyes, this was your last opportunity with Shinsuke Nakamura. They have wasted him so many times. The fact that they even still have a chance at booking this guy
Yeah.
properly is such a testament to how good he is, for
Mm-hmm.
how many times this guy's been buried and wasted on the main roster. So I think him coming back, and I do think it probably could have went one more match and maybe Shinsuke took it on the next one. But not too many complaints from me because I do love LA Knight, but no, they haven't booked him super great since winning this championship, and I almost he I think he'll have an opportunity to recapture what he had. Not that he lost much of it, but I think he'll have an opportunity to recapture what he had now without a title and sort of back in the chase, sort of feeling. But like I said, I think this really had so much more to do with them being like, we like this is essentially one of our last chances with Nakamura. Like if we just bury him again, they're like it's no one's gonna take him seriously at all. So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
The
so
match was too short though.
agreed. And part of me feels like they were trying to like book it as kind of like a squash that's not really like a squash
Yeah, but if
match.
you that's the thing. If you're gonna make it a squash, make it a squash. I hate that
Yeah,
shit.
fully
I'm
commit.
like
And I hate squashes. Don't ever do a squash. But if you're gonna
um
want to do it, just do it fully. At least commit to
I
it.
think they have their place. And I think
I think they're terrible.
I mean I just think they have their place.
Okay.
Like in the like this is just like a weird situation, but I felt like in that Punk and Moxley stuff, like it that was a weird situation where it worked out, and it was
Okay.
like kind of like needed, like the squash match kind of added to it. So I'm not saying I'm a huge fan. I just think they're like necessary. I can see where they're necessary in certain instances, but like I said, they're not. It's worthless if they're not a real squash. So it's
Yeah.
like you either need to you either need to do it or don't.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess maybe they were trying to play on like LA Knight hit his head on that metal, so he was like pretty knocked out like right away. It was just weird. I didn't love the way they build it.
Yeah. Something didn't quite work out, and it also felt like they were potentially like with the Black Mist on SmackDown the day before. Like it felt like they kind of wanted it to have play a factor in this match, but they never really said anything about it. Like they didn't really touch back on it during the match, and at least like I think it was mostly Graves who was just like Shinsuke was kind of just like overwhelmed LA Knight throughout the match, and he kind of like they were
Yeah.
talking about it like he was just beating the piss out of him. Um,
Um,
but I'll
but it
say
didn't
this.
come across that way. Like it
Yeah,
didn't come across as a
it was
squash.
weird. It was weird.
Like
It
it
didn't
came
feel
across
as
as like
one-sided as it should have felt if they were going to
yeah,
do
no,
that.
like that's the thing. Like yeah, so that's also where I'm at with it, where it's almost like in a situation like this, where you, with what happened with this match, like if you're gonna do the squash, just do the squash, because now we're in a weirder situation. To
Yeah.
like, it would be better for the story if you had, oh my god, Shinsuke dominated LA Knight. This new Shinsuke is a force to be reckoned with, and then you have LA Knight sort of, damn. I mean, what if I was on a roll, finally got my gold, and now it's just gone like that? Like, what do I? And you know what I mean? And he's like, I mean, and they still can do that, and they probably will, but it would make more sense if it was a real squash. Um,
Yeah, it
but
would
with
be
that
better
being
for the
said,
story.
I would have much rather had them just get a nice little 12-minute. Give me a 12 to 15-minute banger. It doesn't even have to be 15. Like just
How
give me
long do you think that match was?
that match was less than 5 minutes long. I
Let's
guarantee
see.
it.
I'll look it up right now.
I
I'll find it.
guarantee it. If it's more than 5 minutes, I'm gonna be shocked.
And it's also was weird because they started at 6. They had 5 matches. So then I was like, all right, they're going to let these other matches cook and give them a bunch of time. And then they obviously didn't. 9 minutes and 43 seconds.
All right. Well,
Still
so it
not
was,
less than 10 minutes is not good for a title
yeah. It
match.
felt like we should have at least had like 12 minutes and just let them go at it. But regardless, I'm excited about the result. I hate to see LA Knight's reign end like this, and it wasn't the greatest reign. And I'm a big LA Knight fan, but I'm a bigger Shinsuke Nakamura fan. And I think I've reached the point. So I don't know. Hey, I don't think I don't think LA Knight is probably not. I think he's probably not a main eventer at this point.
Mm. Wow.
Um,
Okay.
Let me take that back. I think
Oh
he's
no.
probably. I think he's no,
You
no.
said
Let me
it.
reword. No, I'm gonna reword it.
Okay.
I think he's probably not a world champion. I
That may
think.
be worse. Jesus Christ.
What do you mean? He can main event. He might. I just don't think he'll win it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's so much worse.
I'm not saying it's up to me. I'm just
All right.
saying
All right.
that's the vibe I've gotten by. If they were gonna make him world champion, I think they would have by now.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He's
Let
just
us know
getting
in the
old.
comments if LA Knight is a world champion
I
material
think
right
more
now.
people are think he's mid card than you think.
I don't
Um,
know.
I'm serious, dude. Like,
Okay. Let us know in the
we'll
comments.
see. But all right, so this can you agree with me on this? Shinsuke Nakamura is more likely to be a world champion than LA Knight.
Right now
Just I think
or
I
in
view
general?
in general, I think Shinsuke Nakamura is a more credible main event threat than LA Knight, a more believable main event threat than LA Knight. Um, so I
I think
think
I can get behind that.
this is an opportunity for them. It was an opportunity for them to elevate Shinsuke back toward that status um without kicking out somebody who was already in that status, because I don't know if they necessarily think he is.
Oh, so you think this was them taking the title off of him because you think it's going to kind of be a demotion now, or do you think he's getting pushed to the main event?
LA?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it maybe was. I'm not 100% sure what it is. I just think it has more to do with what they want to do with Shinsuke
Mm.
rather than what they don't want to do without. You know what I mean? I just think they have more plans for him. I just think they have. I think
Okay.
Shinsuke is more valuable to them.
Okay. Interesting. You
Um,
guys let us know in the comments. I
I mean,
see.
bro, we're talking about Shinsuke Nakamura here.
Oh, I
Let's
know.
not forget this. Like, this
Hey,
is
listen, I love Shinsuke. I'm a big Shinsuke guy. I'm just saying,
multi-time main eventer of the Tokyo Dome. This
one of the
is
greatest Japanese wrestlers ever.
like, this guy is a bigger star than LA Knight. He is.
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't been booked properly in to be so, but he just like is as
You got
far
the
as
Lil
wrestling is,
Uzi Vert remix.
bro. And he's just like, to me, Nakamura just has it, man. He's just got it. Like, I just
Okay.
fucking love him so much. Like, he's just got like that don't give a fuck, like that, like androgynous, almost like, it's like the way he's like, he reminds me of like, he reminds me of like Prince as like a Japanese wrestler.
Okay.
I'm like, if Prince was a Japanese wrestler, he would be Shinsuke Nakamura. Does that make any sense?
I think so.
We should probably move on. We've been talking for a long time.
Yeah. I will say this really quick, just to kind of touch on like, I love LA Knight as much as as much as the next guy. He had like 100 and I think it was like 130-day reign, and he wasn't a terrible U.S. title reign, but it didn't blow me away. It didn't feel like he had any like insane feuds. Like obviously you had Andrade and Carmelo kind of feuding for it, and he did defend it weekly. It felt like, but it didn't feel like we had like a ton of really good, like
Yeah, and
interesting feuds.
I think you're probably right in the fact that, I mean, 99% of the reason that this title reign wasn't great was because they gave him the title and then just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah,
It
which
was
was
like,
weird. It's just weird.
um,
I don't know what.
yeah, it felt like they gave him the title and we're like, oh shit, what now?
Yeah, like I
And
don't
it
know.
was,
A good feud maybe. But anyway, let's move on. Did we have the world title or was it the triple threat after this?
the triple threat.
Yeah. Talk about a banger, Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
This match was a lot of fun, and a match is good when you kind of don't really think the title is going to change heading into it, but then as you're watching it and you're like, oh, this title could change hands right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened to me.
Dude,
I
I
don't know if
thought
you kind of
Sheamus
felt
was
the
winning
same
that
way.
shit, dude.
Yeah, so did I.
I like when he hit that one bro kick, I thought it was over.
Yeah. Because like going
Yeah.
into it, I was like, Braun's gonna retain. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually think he was gonna win, but then I was like, all right, well, it is a triple threat. So then they
No,
always
yeah, it's like
it's a
you
good
gotta love when a
scapegoat.
match just like further and further suspends your reality as it goes on. Um, and like you said, it was. I mean, there's probably nothing better than a match that you go into thinking you know exactly how it's gonna play out, and not that we didn't think it would be a banger or whatever. Obviously, you got three beasts in there,
Oh yeah,
but I think, like you said, it was just the fact that they were able to during this match convince us that they might actually switch this title over onto Sheamus. It's the beauty of wrestling, Mark. And
oh yeah.
it was a great triple threat match and a great ending as well. Um and one thing I wanted to point out here,
Do it.
um and I think they're starting to do more of it, and boy am I for it. And that's just a proper finish. Um do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is just Braun Breaker. He set up his finishing move. We all got ready for him to hit his finishing move. He hit it, and he won. It wasn't out of nowhere. It wasn't a reversal. You know what I mean? It was too often now, in my opinion, the finisher comes out of nowhere. I
Mm.
liked the setup. I think the setup growing
You're a
up, I
big
thought
setup guy.
I growing up, I thought
Big setup guy.
the setup was one of the coolest parts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes Roman Reigns. I mean, imagine if Roman Reigns' spear didn't have the ooh ah.
Yeah.
Imagine if it didn't.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have that setting it up, getting everybody ready for the spear. And imagine if every time Roman Reigns went ooh ah, the spear just didn't hit, and or he hit the spear and he didn't get a win. Like, because it feels like over the years, like wrestling had gotten more and more like that, and it was the crazy, spontaneous, out of nowhere finish. That was it all the time. It was always the crazy. Um, but if you put together a really great match, you don't need to have a spontaneous, insane finish. You just need a good, proper
Yeah.
finish, and that's what they gave
And
us with the triple threat match. And I'm starting to notice it more. I'm starting to notice that I feel like they're letting the people set up their finisher, hit it, and it's like, doesn't it? It usually feels like the ends of matches just come out of nowhere most of the time, and
yeah.
we're getting less and less of that. To me, it seems, and I like that. Of course, you need it. Of course, you need the finishes out of nowhere. But when they're happening, it's it shouldn't be every other match, in my opinion.
Yeah, and especially it's really impressive with them doing it in a triple threat match. Because that's
Yeah,
when the majority of the time you're going to get your finishes that are out of nowhere. One person hits their finisher, but the third person comes back in the ring and throws them out, and then they hit their finisher or they'll pin somebody. So the fact that they did it in a triple threat match, I thought was really impressive. And I'm with you, man. I mean, you can just think back to some of the best finishers of all time, and they have like a sweet setup that gets the crowd involved.
yeah.
So
Seriously, I mean, you got to think of. I mean, just when we were growing up, you think of like the amount of times Ray set up the 619 and got the crowd into it, or Batista throwing people between his legs, thumbs up, thumbs down, sort of thing.
Shawn
Um,
Michaels.
yeah, Shawn Michaels tuning up the banjo for
Oh
the
yeah.
sweet chin music. It's I miss that, and I feel like Braun Breaker. I mean, it's a great example, but throwing down the straps,
Oh.
going crazy, hitting that spear, hoo, 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 and then he, hits that spear. Yeah, man. Braun Breaker is incredible, really.
Yeah,
And
he's great.
he
He's great.
he is that he is going to be an absolute megastar one day. That guy.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, what a match. Probably. So I probably didn't. Other than the men's War Games match, which it's just hard to compete with a War Games match.
Yeah, you can't really
Um,
compare.
but with that, with besides that, it's my match of the night. Um,
Nice.
so I guess we're moving on into the World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah, we had another banger of a match here, Dylan. Gunther and Priest really beat the piss out of each other
Yeah,
here. Great match, great chops
you mentioned
exchanged.
it too. Gunther's looking big, dude. Gunther's looking
Dude,
bigger.
like muscle big, dude.
Yeah, no,
Like
agreed.
he's like putting on muscle and he's like getting like built and
Um,
like toned and
I mean
fucking
Damien as
ripped.
well though. Damien looks
Yeah,
huge.
Damien, it's harder to tell though
It's harder to
because he's
tell,
got
yeah,
all of that gear on.
yeah. But I can't remember exactly what it was, what match it was. I think it was Damien versus Finn, where Damien came out and I was like, he looks yoked, dude. Like,
Yeah.
um, so it's cool to see, and another banger. Um, but what do you know, Mark?
Mm,
Finn Balor
mm.
comes. We thought we were done with Damian Priest and Finn Balor,
Who would
but
have
of
thought?
course we are not. Um, what do you think of Finn Balor getting involved? Because it has led now
Mm.
to, of course, just feels like sort of
Twice.
a. It sort of feels like a holdover match. Doesn't feel like
Mm.
this feud is really going to get built, but it has now set up Finn versus Gunther taking place at
Yeah.
main event.
Explain that to me. How the hell does that work?
Um,
How does
essentially,
Finn cost Priest his title match and then he gets a title match? Where's the
yeah,
logic in that?
yeah.
What the hell?
So Finn's logic in confronting Gunther was, I helped you win that title,
Mm.
and now I just helped you keep it. I saved you twice. I deserve at least one shot at it because I helped your ass.
Okay.
And
And I'm sure
Gunther,
Gunther loved that.
yeah, of course, Gunther said no. I can't remember exactly how.
He probably said, "You're a fucking idiot. You didn't help me." He kicked the hell out of him too, which was
Yeah, no,
awesome.
I just can't remember because I know it's not like Gunther was just like, yeah, good point. I'll give you a match. Um, he did. He definitely did say that he was not about it. So I can't remember exactly. Maybe Pierce ended up setting it up, or um,
Because I didn't see anything about it, and then I saw them post it online.
yeah, I forget exactly how it got set up. But I mean, regardless,
It's gonna be a good
that
match.
was fit. That was exactly.
Gonna be a good
Regardless,
match.
I'm happy that we're getting Gunther versus Finn because it's gonna be a banger. Gonna be an
Yeah.
absolute banger. Of course, I think we can expect Damien to get involved here,
Yeah.
and then bring us to
The
the
Rumble.
Royal Rumble. Yeah, we'll probably get Damien versus Finn at the Rumble.
For the
My
love of
guess,
God, just have it end there.
yeah, my guess was, well, if they were gonna do this, they should have just had Finn win. They just should have had Finn beat Damien.
Mm.
Like why?
Yeah.
Like if they wanted to keep the feud going.
Yeah.
Um. So I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't do some sort of maybe last man standing. I quit.
Mm.
Definitely feels like a stipulation has to get involved. And I mean, yeah, hopefully they can with this next month and a half or so kind of save their feud because everyone's been pretty over it. It was like had the potential to be the hottest feud. Um at this point everyone's like, "Oh, wow, they're bringing it back up." So, I'm going to put faith in a couple of guys that I like a lot in Damian Priest and Finn Balor. and hope that over this next month and a half, they get us a lot more invested back into this feud, which I think they are very capable of doing if just given the opportunity to really set out why these men don't like each other
Mm-hmm.
and the true kind of distaste that has been left in Finn Balor's mouth when Damian Priest kind of claimed to be this leader of the Judgment Day that led to them kind of turning on him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. My biggest question is, where do you think, like, what do you think this is? What do you think their plans are with Gunther? Because to me, it feels like we're just holding out for the next. Feels like we're waiting for the big feud. And is that
Yeah.
potentially Cena winning the Rumble? Is that
Mm.
potentially um, Goldberg not winning the Rumble? God,
Imagine.
not winning the Rumble.
Imagine.
But is it like, is he gonna be Goldberg's last match? Um,
Hmm. I don't know, because it's they have a lot of options that they can do
mhm,
with him, and we're at a weird time now to where we're so close to starting the road to WrestleMania.
mhm.
So we may get a small feud before the Royal Rumble, or maybe something at the Royal Rumble with him. But I think after the Rumble PLE is when we're going to kind of kickstart whatever is next for the Ring General. And as
Yeah.
to what that is, couldn't tell you. I still kind of, I think right now, if I had to put my money on it, I lean towards Cena winning the Rumble, taking on Gunther. Um, and I know we kind of talk about it a lot about having these big stars kind of win the Rumble, and they don't necessarily need to, but I think you can make an exception for Cena to get him into
Yeah,
a
nobody would be
world
upset
title
about it.
match.
But like you just said, I just don't think it needs to happen. Like I think they can just get there otherwise.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think you also it makes
I like
sense for
Cena winning
Cena's
the chamber
character.
more.
Okay, he's going to be at the Chamber,
I know. I
like
like him winning.
officially.
I know. I, I'm
Yeah.
I'm yeah. I feel I like Cena winning the chamber. I don't know why, but part of me feels like they're not gonna put him in it, and they're just gonna do a singles match at chamber. Um, but who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like where we're at now. It's where we're at the point where it's like what's next for a lot of these wrestlers. So let's pivot to the men's War Games match. Dylan, this one
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. Um, a lot of great spots. And I'll tell you what, both teams kind of get into their feet in a line at the same time and meeting between the two rings. You gotta do it every War Games match, man.
Yeah,
It's so
dude.
good.
It's
It's
great.
so
It's the
good.
best.
It's so awesome. If you talk about something to get you fired up, like my God, that's gonna do it.
Big
Um,
time.
few injuries during this match. Um, we had Bronson Reed, pretty sure obliterated his ankle when he jumped off the
Yeah.
cage.
It didn't look great. I mean,
Hopefully he's okay.
he's real as hell for doing that spot. Um, why do guys always put their feet down?
It's just tough.
Dude, I know. It's just like I just like it wasn't nearly as bad as well, I will say like on the split the splash looked clean as hell. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it didn't look like his feet hit.
yeah,
Um the edge one was bad for AW,
yeah,
the one where he got hurt. That was terrible cuz like
yeah.
why on earth did he just went complete feet first? That was awful. But yeah, I mean, and let's see. You got Jimmy, of course. Jimmy doing some great stuff as well. Jimmy hitting the whisper in the wind.
Oh yeah,
That he
that
hasn't
was
hit that in
awesome.
years. It feels like. And would we get a splash from the top of the cage from Jimmy. Uh, so
Yeah.
that was pretty sick. Um,
Roman with
and
the crossbody.
yeah, Roman with the crossbody. That was nice.
That
Um,
was awesome.
yeah, that was a fun little spot. I guess that was all to set up the Roman crossbody. Right? Like him going
What?
over the cage and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just to set up that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was fun. But and then of course we had that great moment. Roman doesn't really want to trust Punk,
Mm.
and Punk's about to go in, and Roman puts his arm and says, "No, Sammy, you go." And Punk's looking
Mm.
at him. That was just funny the way Punk like was just staring at him like that. It just made me laugh. Um, and then of course we have a great moment next where Roman's about to go in, but no, Punk cuts him off,
Yeah.
and Punk heads in there. So, another big thing was that the entire OG bloodline came out separately.
Oh yeah.
Um, they came out separately,
And
including
Jay came out last again.
including Jay coming out last, and I think it makes sense though because where they had Jay starting, and
Yeah.
um, dude, they've also just hit a point with the stuff where they're like the Jay Uso entrance is a part of it's a part of going to a WWE show now. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
It's a part of
Oh
the
yeah.
experience, so they can't take that away. Um,
No.
it's like how you just gonna get rid of the most electric entrance in the biz? Um,
You don't.
so exactly, you don't. So that was great. And then of course we get you know Punk and Roman not wanting to work together at all. And then of course we get Paul coming down. And he goes, "My tribal chief, the best in the world. You have to work together." He was like, he was like, "This is War Games."
Yeah, it was so good. So
Um
good.
yeah, it just made me laugh so much where he was like, "The best in the world, my tribal chief." Uh and then we get some, like you said, some incredible spots. Jimmy broke his toe. So Jimmy also get better soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, dude, shout out to Bronson Reed for taking that spot. Seriously, like what a champ. He was probably like, I mean, there was like just a straight up like 70% chance he gets hurt on that. Like there's
Oh.
just
Oh
like
yeah.
no,
Oh yeah.
like there's just no, like he was just fully prepared to get injured on that. Um so shout out to him for that, cuz that's just, dude, like it makes you realize every day like these dudes just doing this for the love of the sport, for our entertainment, like
Yeah.
for makes you so grateful for, what these guys do. When it's just like, yeah, like we said, like that guy Bronson Reed, there's no, like, best case scenario is probably
Oh, you're getting hurt.
like a
Like
broken rib.
regardless. Yeah. Like
Like
you're gonna
that's
get
like
hurt jumping off that like that.
best case scenario, broken rib.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, he's so real for doing that. And then we got Roman Reigns pinned the tribal chief of the new bloodline, Solo,
Mm.
after Solo took a finisher from everyone there.
Good moment.
And then Michael Cole made sure that he said um, that although he got the pin over Solo, that Solo still has the Ulafala and
Mm-hmm.
is still the tribal chief.
Sure is,
Um,
Dylan.
so
Sure is.
the big question now is, where do we go in the Bloodline story? We're gonna find out pretty soon, probably in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
hours tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. So I think that's probably the best way to kind of, you know what? It's probably, yeah, it's probably the best way to kind of end this episode would be, um, how is where do we think the Bloodline story is going from here now, Mark?
Yeah. So, it's interesting, Dylan, because it all kind of felt like it was leading to The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. Now there's
Yeah.
some reports that The Rock's not going to be involved, but The Rock will be involved only if he feels like doing the match. First of all, fuck The Rock. I think we all can agree by that.
All right, let
It's
me just say this. If it's true
say
that the if it's true at all, I don't believe it is true.
okay.
But if it is true that The Rock like just doesn't know whether he wants to be involved yet or not, that need he's a fucking dick, dude. Like, why are you making it hard for everybody?
Yeah,
Why can't we just plan this shit? Like, why can't like
yeah,
if we didn't have
yeah.
to deal with The Rock coming in and ruining everything, we would be able to actually plan some stuff out. So I still am kind of on board with what I stole it from Sam Roberts, from the idea, but he said he thinks Roman wins the Rumble, and then or they set up Rock versus Cody before the Rumble. Roman wins the Rumble, and then Roman does the same thing to the Rock that Cody did to the Rock last year, where he says, "You don't get to choose the main event of WrestleMania. I do. I won the Royal Rumble." Um, which I think in my head, that's the only way a triple threat makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like, how
I
else
don't
do you
think they're
make a triple?
doing a trip. I don't think
Neither
they're
do
doing
I.
a triple threat,
Neither do I.
and they shouldn't. If they're going to do anything involving those three, I think what they're I think if they're going to have The Rock involved at WrestleMania, he's main eventing both nights against Cody and Roman.
And does he lose both times? Like,
Yeah,
probably not.
probably not. I
Um,
I want to say this too real quick also kind of regarding like the stuff with like The Rock cuz the one report I read and I can't remember who it was but it was basically them and like I stay away from like dirt sheet stuff and like spoilers and all of that nonsense just because like you put it so well in the past is they ruined the magic of professional wrestling.
yeah.
So I'm very much I'm just like I've done a good job at just like not like blocking everything on social media and whatnot and not seeing anything. But I did stumble across that one. It was basically like they basically said that it's up to The Rock. They said if he wants to be a part of it, then he will be because he's on the board of directors. If he doesn't, then he's not. Um, First of all, make them like do the match. Like I know he's busy, billionaire doing all these 100 things. If he cared at all about this industry or about the company, then he would set aside a few months to do this, and then he could just not do anything else in the WWE. Right? All he has to do is sacrifice a couple of months to do this. That will be historic in wrestling, but he doesn't because he doesn't care about wrestling. He doesn't care about the WWE. He just cares about money. And that's all it is. Whenever he feels like making some money, he doesn't care about the story at all. If he did care about the story, he wouldn't have tried to take Cody's spot at WrestleMania. So he
Yeah,
just
it's
does
just
not
like
care about wrestling.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
just
that's
like
where I'm at. And this match could never happen and I'll be completely fine. Like I'm over it. I do not care if we get Rock
yeah, I mean,
versus Roman
I'm over it at
at
this point
all.
too. I mean, the best case scenario is that it's Rock versus Roman, and if Roman beats Rock, he has to retire. And then Roman beats Rock, and
Well,
Rock's done.
it's also like Mania's at Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Doesn't The
you're
Rock
not going
live
to do
in
it at
Vegas?
no idea. But you're not going to do it at Las Vegas.
Oh no,
You're
he
going to
lives in
wait
Hawaii.
you're going to wait until 42 to do it in Minnesota, which no
Yeah.
disrespect to Minnesota. We got family that lives in Minnesota, but like Las Vegas and Minnesota, you're going to do something big. You're going to do it in Las Vegas, Dylan.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'd rather see Solo versus Roman for the Ula Fala at WrestleMania than Rock versus Roman. Like, what is the point? Like, they don't have any beef. Like, they have a small history of The Rock kind of saving Roman at the Rumble
Oh
in
well, I
2015.
mean, the beef would be that he is calling the shots from behind the curtains, and he put Solo in charge. Like that would be
Yeah,
the beef.
but it's also like that makes sense, but it's also like Roman's the head of the table. He's always been the head of a table. There was no like head of the table before Roman, like storyline wise. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't think like I think there's a better story with Solo and Roman currently than The Rock and Roman.
How do you drag that for the next 6 months, though?
Well, you probably have them get. You probably have Roman feud with Fatu at some point before.
Mm.
Maybe January, February, March, April. Because it's early May now,
But
right?
he already
It's
pinned
the first
Solo.
week in May.
Like he already pinned. He just pinned Solo though, so we
Yeah,
have to
but
go to Solo.
immediately?
I mean, what's it like? He pinned him.
Oh, I know. But you think Solo's going to be like, yeah, we'll wrestle one-on-one?
I don't think it's up to Solo.
Yeah, but I think he's the tribal chief, Dylan. He's going to have some say in what he does or doesn't do. That's the powers of being the tribal chief. Yeah, but being tribal chief, you may have more pull than the GM. That's all I'm saying.
I think if they weren't gonna do Roman versus Solo, then Roman wouldn't have just pinned Solo.
It's fair.
Um,
But like, when would they do Roman versus Solo if not at Mania?
Rumble.
Doesn't that feel too soon though?
Not really. It's like 6 weeks away.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the main point, like, I
I
think
feel like
he
we've
has
been
to.
building to Roman and Solo this whole time.
I feel like we've been building. Yes, but I also feel like we've been building towards Bloodline versus Bloodline, and now we're kind of building more towards Roman versus Solo, if that makes sense.
I got you. I think that they're just at the very. I think they run the risk of it becoming very stale if they don't move on to Solo now.
Yeah, I mean, especially, but it's also like if they're gonna be patient with any story, we've seen them do it with the Bloodline stuff in the past.
Yeah, but it's just like I don't know. It just seems like super unnecessary to me.
You don't think he can feud with Jacob Fatu
It
for
does.
like 2 or 3 months?
I don't think it's like why he doesn't care. He wants Solo.
Roman, yeah, but you do a thing where you have to go through my enforcer before you get to me.
But it's like he already got to him. He pinned him.
Yeah, but that was War Games, Dylan.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
Are
just
you
saying,
still confident that we're getting Rock at Mania?
probably.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think I'm just on the train of like how often have you seen them do like that where like someone pins somebody and then them not immediately go to start that story? Like
It is rare, but it also doesn't feel like you need Roman versus Solo for the Ula File at something bigger. And like I know that the Rumble is like one of the big four shows, but like I don't know, that feels like a huge match. Maybe at like if they do a Saudi show before WrestleMania.
the Rumble should be bigger than Saudi.
I mean, yeah, but like Saudi's like more like big money kind of thing. I'm not saying in terms of like shows like it's bigger or not, but
I don't know. Not every match can be a WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
That is true.
It's like having too many big money matches is a good problem to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they got a WrestleMania level card at Royal Rumble, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but then Roman isn't going to win the Rumble if he's fighting Solo, probably.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
He won't even be in the Rumble match.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. It's all so confusing, Dylan. I don't know what we're going to do with this Bloodline stuff anymore. It's kind of like a sit back.
My big thing with The Rock is I'm just like it just like feels like that's the only way to end it. Is Roman and Rock.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the Bloodline story is not going to be over until we get that match.
it may never be over.
Yeah, I get that, and it's like it never really has to be because they can just keep having babies and just keep. But as far as the Roman Reigns saga is concerned, I guess
Yeah. How long? When do you think Solo wins his first world title?
I'm not sure.
Because it's happening. He's winning a world title.
Yeah, probably. Um,
I would say within the next 2 years.
yeah, I think sooner rather than later, but I also don't think it's going to be like incredibly soon.
Do you think? I think he could beat Cody for it at some point next year.
Nah.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, and then real quick before we sign off here, we at least we got. I want to give some credit to Dylan because they announced women's IC title.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Dylan. Do you think this has any effects on anything else? In terms of like, is Raw going to 3 hours? You think when they hit Netflix? They just said they're going to keep their current rating, at whatever party that was that they had. Because I am hesitantly optimistic about the women's mid card titles. I because
Me as
2 hours,
well. Yeah.
um, and you're gonna fit another like I don't know. They just have given us no reason to really have faith in them in building meaningful stuff with women's titles outside of like the world titles, and especially if you're keeping your shows 2 hours, then you're gonna throw in two mid card titles on each
I
show.
mean,
Like
yeah,
I don't
you would
know.
have. I would hope that they're going back to three because as much as I used to hate the 3 hour show, I've now gotten to the point where it's like there's not like they need more time.
Yeah,
Um,
I think two and a
so
half hours is the sweet spot,
I think you're probably right. I
and
think
give
two
the
and a half.
last half hour to the main event, dedicated to the main event. 2.5 hours,
Mm,
no commercials on Netflix. Do it because 3 hours with commercials, it's brutal. It's
yeah, I
brutal.
think I like that. 8 to 10:30.
2.5 hours. Yeah, come on now. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Then
and
they
then
can run
like
a little like post show from
yeah,
10:30 to 11 on Netflix. Come on now. Be awesome.
boom.
So anyway, again, that's going to wrap it up. If you're listening via audio streaming service, we're actually live for this, and this is something we may do more moving forward. So follow us on all of our socials to be in touch with if we will be live streaming or not. We have Saturday night's main event, which we didn't really talk about at all, which we obviously will probably do predictions next week for that. But they have 3 matches right now announced, so it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of all unfolds with that. So you follow us on X at the Burnt Hammer. Follow us on everything else at the Burning Hammer. Sign up for the Patreon, $1 a month. You get all of our content early and ad free. Literally $1. That's nothing. And shop our merch, tpublic.com. As always, all the links will be in the description as well. So, with that being said, I'm Mark Izzo. He's Dylan O'Brien. And this has been another episode of the Birding Hammer Podcast. We'll catch you next week.